Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you could all join us this fine Tuesday morning. Hope everyone is doing well today. So, yes, we can be able to start now. So, for those who are new, my name is Mitch Kaniar, and I'm a trader with Afriforex. Want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, during these webinars, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the market, we identify what trading opportunities we will be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So, as usual, I'm not here alone. We do have the Afriforex team here in the back office. So, if you have any questions or queries, feel free to ask those questions in the chat box and the team will be there to respond to you. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, we'll end up having a look, first of all, at our watch list yesterday and see what differences there are today. So you can see yesterday we were looking for buying opportunities on the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, as well as the Japanese yen. And we're looking to mix and match these three pairs with all these pairs on the sell side. So the Australian dollar all the way down till the euro. Now today, there has been just one small change. We will still be looking for buying opportunities on the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, as well as the Japanese yen. However, we did have some New Zealand dollar fundamentals that did come out today morning, which did bring in strength. And that's the reason why the New Zealand dollar is going to be on the buy side. So this is going to be our watch list for today, or let me just say for now. Yesterday we had some Swiss franc fundamentals, but then that did not change the watch list, so we did not necessarily inform you on Telegram. However, we do have some more fundamentals today for the Swiss franc at 10:30. So after the webinar, we will end up finding out exactly what the Swiss franc is going to be doing, whether or not it's still going to be on the sell side or move to the buy side. But apart from that, we will also inform you whether or not there will be some euro changes as well. So before we do jump onto the pairs for today, let's have a look at the pairs that we did have look at yesterday, see what happened, whether or not we could have taken some of those opportunities, at least learn from those experiences as we move on to today's trades. So we'll start off here with the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. This is a currency pair that we're not going to be looking at today, but yesterday we did have this currency pair for a sell. Now, you do remember yesterday when we were looking at this chart, the price was all the way down here within the buyer's area. You can see around there, around 9 o'clock. We did want to see some sort of pullback coming in, potentially within this support and resistance area for us to look for a sell. And remember, we always point out the market opening times, 11, 4, and 5:30. That's when you could find the markets really taking off. Now, in this situation, if we look at the market at 11 o'clock, that's actually when the price actually attempted to give us a pullback, not necessarily go as high as we wanted before the sellers did end up attempting to try and come to the downside. And remember, I did also mention, we wanted to see either a big breach to the downside and the price holding below for us to look for a sell and take note of the market opening time. So even though it did end up breaching to the downside, it looked as if it was attempting to hold to the downside. But if you looked at the time, that was around 2:45. So there was no real big boy who was actually going to take the price down with you. So at that point in time, no trading opportunity. And you can see later on, as the price breached to the upside, it came back and held above. As long as the price is holding above that area, we were still within that buyer's area, and we should not look for selling opportunities. And you can see that was around 4 and 5:30 where the price was within this buyer's area. So it was during the US market, at least the New York Stock Exchange. We did get a small pullback. And once the fundamentals for the New Zealand dollar did come out during the Asian session, we can see that strength coming in for the New Zealand dollar. So unfortunately for us, pairs that are both on the same side of our watch list are pairs that we're not going to be having. So there was nothing really much that happened for us yesterday on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Similar situation now, the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. This actually ended up giving us a very nice selling opportunity yesterday. Remember, we did point out these particular areas that we could potentially look for sells. When we were discussing this price, or at least this market, price had come all the way back down towards this blue level right here, where we have this blue line. Didn't mention, one thing we did notice was that this could be a probe. And if that's a probe, prices usually test back within that area and could end up giving us a nice selling opportunity. Now you can see the price did end up giving us a pullback. If you do take note of the time that happened, that was at 11 o'clock. So during the London market open. So it is the London big boys who did manage to take the sell all the way back down towards where the buyer's area was. Now, I did mention that there was another small opportunity. If we did manage to get a pullback coming in after the price did breach this area to the downside, we get a pullback, we could potentially look for a selling opportunity within this particular blue level. And you can see that did end up happening. We do also take note of the times in terms of this situation. That was at 4 o'clock. If you did end up looking for a sell at 4, can see the price still did manage to come down, even though it did not necessarily come down that far, because we did have this buyer's area here giving us issues. And you can see later on, during the Asian session. Even though we did get a slight pullback, the New Zealand big boys did come in with that strength. And that's the reason why this is a pair that is off our watch list. But there was a very nice selling opportunity for us yesterday. Now, the next pair we did have was the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Similar situation. We wanted to look for selling opportunities on this pair. Did end up seeing the price looking as if it was attempting to hold to the downside. At that point in time, wanted to see some sort of sign that big boy sellers are actually back. And you can see the market did end up attempting to go to the upside, and this was during the London session. But you can see it never actually held above. This was actually just a probe where the price did manage to come down. Once it did do that, there would have been a potential selling opportunity, but you can see that was only during the London session where the trade did work out. Now, during the US session, you can see we did end up starting to get a pullback and similar correlation with all the New Zealand dollar pairs. During the Asian session, we did get the prices going up higher. So unfortunately, this is the pair that has fallen off our watch list for today. Now, that's it for all the pairs for review that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. So before we do jump on to today's pairs, we did end up getting a screenshot. One screenshot actually, and this was from Alvin. Alvin, you didn't manage to grab a buying opportunity on the British pound against the US dollar. Seems that you did grab some selling opportunities earlier on, but it seems that afterwards, during the US market open, you did end up getting that pullback on the British pound against the US dollar. And you can see your trade working out quite well. One thing, remember, we always mention, if you do end up sending out screenshots, we always want to see your stop loss. One thing you need to always make sure is managing your risk, managing the amount of money you have. So by the time that the trade is in profit, remember, try and move your stop loss at least to break even. So this trade ends up being risk-free. But very, very well done on this trade, Alvin, and keep up the good work that you're doing. So guys, if you remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. They should be, our contact details should be in the description of this video. So let's jump straight into today's pairs. So right now, we'll start off with the US dollar pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side, do the same thing with the Canadian dollar, the Japanese yen, as well as the New Zealand dollar, before we do have a look at the indices, as well as gold and silver. So starting off with the US dollar pairs, we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Now, this is a currency pair we did have yesterday, looking for selling opportunities. Unfortunately, the sell did not work out for us. Remember, we did want to see one or two things, either the price reaching and holding below this area for us to continue looking for sells. But if the price came to the upside, we wanted to see whether or not we could grab a selling opportunity within one of these two highlighted areas. Now, you can see during the London session, we did end up getting a probe where the price came back in, it was actually holding above. So at that point in time, no selling opportunity for us. And you can see later on during the US session, we did end up starting to get a pullback and a bit of a more of a move during the Asian session. Now, especially if you do zoom out, remember we did mention in order for us to sell, we need buyers. But if you can see, this market has been coming down for quite a while, and there's been no situation where buyers have actually come in. So jumping in on selling opportunities all the way down here was not necessarily the best idea, because if you did jump in on a sell all the way at the top, chances are you'd be trying to close your selling opportunity down here. So all those people who managed to grab those selling opportunities and close them, the late sellers did end up losing money based on that. But remember, we did want to say we wanted a pullback, and buyers have now come in. You can see the price has come back towards the area of interest that we did end up pointing out yesterday. And you can see the same situation where the market attempted to break this area to the upside, and we did end up getting some sort of probe. So basically, we'll still be watching out for the exact same areas that we did have yesterday, still looking for those selling opportunities. Right now, majority of people have started switching to the bias over buy, so that's a good thing for us. So the fact remains that we've managed to get a probe. The buyers right now are looking as if they're potentially struggling. So let's see if we can end up getting some sort of pullback, maybe potentially another probe. Remember, watch out for the market opening time. So this trade potentially could work out either at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. 10 o'clock is the Frankfurt market open, and 11 is the London market open. So we could find a potential selling opportunity within there. We do end up seeing that, we could end up grabbing our selling opportunity. Do make sure you manage your trade within this first area. But if we are able to get the price breaking this area to the downside and holding below, then we should be able to look for a selling opportunity here. And remember, if it lines up within the market opening times, you could end up finding a very, very nice selling opportunity here on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So hope that's clear on AUD against the US dollar. So let's move on to the next US dollar pair we do have. This is the British pound against the US dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Similar situation for most of these US dollar pairs. They had been going down for quite a while. So you can see during the London session at 11 o'clock, we did get a slight pullback coming in, just attempting to try and come back within the seller's area. Unfortunately, it could not. Seems the sellers were more interested in bringing the price down from this particular area. But during the London session, technically, it did end up coming down. However, if you do look at the market at 4 o'clock during the US market open, once the price did break this area to the upside and was holding above, at that point in time, there was no trading opportunity. And it seems that's the trade that was taken yesterday. So very, very well done on that trade. But you can see now the pullback has started coming in, coming back, approaching our main seller's area. So our bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunity. So we'll still be focusing on the exact same areas to look for the sells. And remember, this pair will only fall off our watch list if the price actually breaks and holds above this red support and resistance area. So as long as the price is holding below, we should still be able to look for selling opportunities. So in this situation, one of two things could happen. We could end up finding this price breaking this area to the downside. And if you see the price giving us a pullback and holding below, then we should be able to look for a very nice selling opportunity on the British pound against the US dollar. Alternatively, due to the fact that we're within a bias area, we could still find the buyers attempting to come up and struggle a bit. And if we do see some sort of probe or price action signal within this particular support and resistance area, and the price is actually holding below, then we should be able to also look for a selling opportunity there. So take note, as you can see, there has been some correlation on the last two US dollar pairs that we've had a look at. So take note of that. So if one pair starts moving, have a look at the other pairs as well. So moving on to the next currency pair we did have and we will have today is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Now, you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Did mention that the market looked like it could potentially be in some sort of small range. But initially, when we're discussing this price, the price was all the way up within as close to the seller's area as possible. We needed one of two things to happen, either a breach to the upside and the price holding above for us to look for a buy, or us getting a pullback coming back down towards the buyer's area. Now, you can see during the London market open, the price did start coming to the downside, showed some signs of big boy buyers coming in, but the big boy buyers during the London session were not enough to actually take this price up higher. Remember, we did point out that during, or at least due to the fact that we're dealing with the US dollar pairs, it's mainly more active during the US session. And you can see the price did manage to pull back down towards the buyer's area. And this was at 4 o'clock during the US market open. So if you did look for a nice trading opportunity then at that particular time, you can see that trade did work out quite well. Should have made sure to manage your trade within this first area. You can see later on, we have managed to end up getting a pullback, which is okay. We will still be basically looking for buying opportunities, respecting the exact same areas. Because one thing you need to take note of is the market structure. And in this situation right now, even though overall we're still looking for buying opportunities, this price does seem to be ranging between these two levels. Especially if you do go up to a higher time frame, you should be able to see that this was never really broken, and the price is still bouncing between these two levels. That being the case, then we would still want to look for buying opportunities due to the fact that the price is within a buyer's area. Hopefully, we can end up getting some sellers being incited, getting the buyers to come in. You see the price holding above, we should be able to look for a nice buying opportunity, but please make sure you manage your trade within the seller's area at the top. Only if we are able to get the price breaching and holding above is when we should be able to look for buying opportunities. Now, the next possibility would be if the price comes to the downside, instead of coming back up and holding above, it actually holds below. Chances are we could be coming back down all the way till the main buyer's area. Similar situation, looking for some sort of probe or price action signal within this particular area for us to potentially look for some buying opportunities on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. And do remember, since we're dealing with the US dollar against the Swiss franc, and we do have some Swiss franc fundamentals at 10:30, so do take note that the market could also move at that particular time. However, we will end up informing you on the Telegram channel if there are any changes. So moving on to the next and the last US dollar pair that we do have. Here we have the euro against the US dollar. Similar situation. Yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. The sells only worked out during the London session. As you can see, the price did end up giving us a slight pullback. The buyers were not really as strong. This one would have been a bit difficult to get, but you can see the London big boys did manage to push the price down lower. Unfortunately, in this situation, we did get the price giving us a pullback, but the sellers during the US session were not really interested to actually bring this price down lower. Yes, they needed some real strength to actually push it to the downside. And you can see later on, we did end up getting a pullback, coming back up as close towards the main sellers area that we did have yesterday. So overall today, buyers here is still going to be looking for these selling opportunities, still focusing on the same areas. right now we're within an area, but very interesting right now because you can see the price has gone to the upside, not really broken and held above this particular area. So right now the price went to the upside, but it came back down and is holding below. You can see how many times the market has attempted to actually go to the upside, but has not been able to. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. There could be a potential selling opportunity available for us. Remember, we do have some euro fundamentals coming out. So even though we mentioned these market opening times, 11, 4, and 5:30, also take note of if there are any actual news events that are actually going to come out. And since here we're dealing with the euro, remember we do have some euro fundamentals coming out at 10:30 as well as at 1 p.m. So do make sure that the market could end up reacting at that particular time. But right now, if we do end up getting the price coming to the upside and actually holding above, and you can end up having a look at the other US dollar pairs to actually see what it's doing. If you do see one pair starting to move or actually give a pullback, chances are the other one's also giving us a pullback. So wait to see if the price ends up approaching this main seller's area within one of the market opening times for us to look for a selling opportunity. But be aware if the price breaks and holds above the red support and resistance pair, remember this pair will fall off our watch list. Now, hope that is clear. You can see we've mixed and matched the US dollar pairs with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the Canadian dollar pairs and do the same thing. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. Seems that the big boys weren't really interested in taking the market down yesterday. I think that must have something to do with there being no fundamentals really coming out yesterday. But overall, yesterday, since our bias was to look for selling opportunities, we did get a small pullback coming in. And at 11 o'clock, you can see right there, we did end up attempting to come to the downside, but these buyers clearly ended up holding the market. And what usually this means is when the price ends up doing something similar to this. So for example, if the fact that the price managed to come to the downside, as you can see, these big sellers managed to push down, coming all the way back down towards this buyer's area. Now, the main thing is we just need a pullback. Usually the sellers need a pullback for them to actually able to actually come down and potentially make a new low. I think that's mainly the objective. If it cannot necessarily make a new low, it possibly means that this price right here was not good enough, meaning it needs a better price. And you can see that's the reason why right now the price has managed to go to the upside above this particular level, but you can see the buyers don't necessarily look that strong. This is something we've seen many times on the chart that could be inciting people to start looking for buying opportunities, not realizing that this is just something to incite a few buyers so that the sellers can actually come in. So for us, this does seem like it's a good sign. It sounds like it's going for a better price. So overall, we'll still be focusing on the same areas to look for selling opportunities. But in this situation, rather than jumping in on a selling opportunity now, because remember, we always point out, buy with buyers and sell with sellers. Since we're looking for a sell, and this is a buyer's area, we do not want to take the risk of just jumping in on a selling opportunity here. What we want to wait for is the price breaking this area to the downside. If we get the price actually coming back and holding below, we should be able to find a very nice selling opportunity for us there. And this, you should make sure you manage your trade right here at the bottom. But ideally, when it does go for a better price, it will end up attempting to actually make a new low. That's the reason why we do encourage, make sure you at least manage some of your trade, move your stop losses to break even. If the prices continue going down lower, the better. If it does not manage to go down low and it does come back, at least you have secured majority of your trade down here within this buyer's area. So this one is quite interesting. We'll wait to see what ends up happening. Then right here, I think I'll just set an alert down here. So if the price does come back in, you will be notified, and then we'll be able to actually look to see what actually happens. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair, we do have the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunity. The sells did work out. So you can see during the London market open, even though the price was within this buyer's area, would have been a very risky to actually look for your selling opportunity there. But once the price did break this area to the downside, you can see even based on the illustration that I had pointed out, we did end up getting a pullback coming in, and the sell did end up working out. This was around 2 p.m., not necessarily during a market opening hour or when there was a news event, but we did end up getting a small selling opportunity coming down. But it could only get down to the low that it actually made. And during the US session, because you can see that 4 o'clock, that's when the price was back in this buyer's area, we did end up starting to get a pullback. So overall today, buyers here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we have adjusted the level slightly. So we'll still be looking for sells based on these 3 areas. We have the aggressive sellers area right there at the top. We have the conservative area right there in the middle. and we have the bottom area right here at the bottom. So now for us, what we want to see is potentially big boy sellers actually coming in. Right now, you can see the way the buyers did manage to come to the upside. You can see quite a bit strong, although this wick right here is a good indication that the sellers are giving pressure. Now, after the pullback, we want to see what kind of reaction the buyers are going to come in with. Because right now, the sellers, if you look at the sellers are not necessarily that strong, so it's not necessarily ready yet. So one thing we'll wait to see is if we can end up getting some sort of buyers coming in, potentially struggling, we see some sellers really coming back in and the price actually goes below, we could find a very nice selling opportunity for us there. Alternatively, we could end up finding the buyers actually reacting, giving us more of a pullback, coming all the way till the main seller's area, getting some sort of probo price action signal for us to be able to look for some selling opportunities within the aggressive area that we have at the top. So this one is quite interesting. We'll wait to see what ends up happening. Can end up getting the price coming, giving us a pullback, the better for us. So hope that's clear on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. As we move on to the next Canadian dollar pair we do have. Right here, we have the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. It seems that the Swiss franc pairs really did work out for us quite nice yesterday. So yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the three areas that we had highlighted to look for those buying opportunities. Now, during the London session, you can see the price was within this particular bias area. It seems that the big boys were not really interested. First of all, during the Asian session, this dotted line we have right here in the middle does indicate the beginning of a particular day. So that means the Asian session did start within this particular area. You can see hardly any activity. The Asian big boys were not interested. Came down to the London session during 11 o'clock. Wanted to see what kind of reaction the London big boys were actually going to do. We did not get anything of the sort. You can see a small reaction right there before the price came down. However, we did end up getting a very nice probe where you can see the price tried to come to the downside. It came back up, and you can see the price came back and was actually holding to the upside. And if you do take note of the time that was, when the price had actually pulled back and was holding above, that was at exactly 4 o'clock. So you can see it was the US big boys that actually took this price up to the upside. So that's why we always keep on pointing out these market opening times, because you can end up getting some very nice trading opportunities there. So the price did manage to reach the upside, but today we will still be looking for buying opportunities. Or let me say for now, since remember, I did point out we have some Swiss franc fundamentals coming out later on today. So if we do end up finding any changes, let's say the Swiss franc does move its bias from the sell side to the buy side, then that would mean this pair would fall off our watch. But for now, you can see the price has gone to the upside. The buyers looked quite strong. If you compare how the sellers are coming down, they're coming down quite weak, which is what we want to see. So we want to see how low they can actually go and struggle to the downside. Once we see signs that big boy buyers are actually coming back in, then we should be able to look for a buying opportunity, especially if we do end up getting some sort of global price action signal within the support and resistance area. But if we do get the price breaching and holding below, and we do not see any reaction, any type of reaction from big boy buyers within this area, chances are we could even still be coming back down all the way to the main buyers area right here, the red support and resistance area, for us to potentially look for buying opportunities there. So wait to see what ends up happening, but this one also seems quite good for a buying opportunity. Let's just wait to see those sellers struggle before we're able to take those buying opportunities. So moving on to the next currency pair we do have the euro against Canadian dollar. This is a currency pair we did have yesterday looking for selling opportunities. So you can see the price was within this particular buyer's area. So at that point in time, there was no selling opportunity for us. But you can see at 11 o'clock, we did get the price actually breaking this area to the downside. We get a small pullback, showing us confirmation that the price was actually holding below. And you can see the price did manage to continue going to the downside. But this only mainly worked out during the London session, because you can see if you did take a trade during the London session and decided that you're going to close your trade during the US session, you can see that was at exactly the bottom area right there. And you can see the US big boys have actually been giving us a small pullback rather than actually taking the price down lower. So the market opening times can give you an opportunity to either close your trade, enter your trades, manage your trades, or close your trades. You should be doing something as the market is opening. So in this situation, we are getting a pullback and we have adjusted the level slightly. So we will still be looking for selling opportunities based on these three areas that we have identified. So we have the aggressive sellers area right there at the top. Right now, we have gotten a pullback coming back to this support and resistance area, which is a good sign for us. So we want to see what kind of reaction we will end up getting within this area. Right now, we are starting to see good signs of the fact that the buyers, yes, they did come in strong, but we can see some aggressive seller who did push the price down lower. and we can start seeing the buyers are starting to struggle. The buyers have come in a few more candles, sellers still rejecting. And right now, look at how much the buyers are struggling just to do what they could have done last time with 2 candles, then 3 candles. Now it's taking them more than 10 candles or so. This is a sign that the buyers could potentially be struggling. But that doesn't mean that it's just time to sell just yet. We need to see that the big boy sellers are actually interested within this particular area. So we wait to see what ends up happening here. We do end up getting some sort of probe, price action signal, aggressive sellers showing up within that area. Could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity for us. But if we do not see any aggressive sellers, we could still see this price actually reaching, holding this area to the upside, and still coming back all the way to this red support and resistance area for us to look for those selling opportunities. So do take note of that. And remember, since here we're dealing with the euro against the Canadian dollar, we have some euro fundamentals at 1 p.m. So that's when we should also take a look at this chart as well. So hope that's clear on the Canadian dollar pairs. As you can see, we mix and match the US dollar as well as the Canadian dollar pairs with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to do the Japanese yen, at least look at the Japanese yen pairs. So starting off with the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen, yesterday, hardly any activity. It seems similar situation on most of these kinds of pairs during the London session at 11 o'clock. So 11 o'clock was right there. You can see with price attempted to break this area, the upside could not. We actually ended up getting a probe, showing us confirmation the price is holding below. But the price could not really go that much further during the US session open. So it was either 4 or even 5:30. You can see in this situation, it was 5:30 during the New York Stock Exchange open. That's when we actually started getting a much, much deeper pullback. So that's okay, because remember, right now, this price has been coming down for quite a while. We needed to end up getting a pullback, especially if we do end up going to the higher time frame. You can see how aggressive this price came back down. And right now, we're pulling back to that support and resistance area that was broken. So it's a very good sign for us. We've incited a few more people to actually start looking for buys in order for us to potentially look for our selling opportunities. So we'll basically be focusing on the exact same areas to look for selling opportunities right here. Right now, the fact that the price is holding above this area, it's not a good place to look for the selling opportunities, even though we are starting to see some potential signs that the market could have actually come to the downside. You can see the way the buyers have come to the upside. Some sellers seem to be pushing quite aggressively especially within this particular area. But you can see the next push of the sellers, not necessarily that much. And that's the reason why we always encourage, we want to see some aggressive sellers really coming in. So if we don't see the sellers coming in here, chances are we could end up getting this price giving us more of a pullback, maybe getting some sort of global price action signal coming back to the aggressive area for us to look for our selling opportunities. Or alternatively, we could end up waiting. The price is able to come to the downside, break and hold below the support and resistance area. Then we could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity available for us on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So we definitely have a look at this pair later on. So hope that's clear as we move on to the next yen pair. Here we have the British pound against the Japanese yen. Similar situation. It seems all the kinds of pairs we're looking at during the London session, we did end up having some sort of move. Unfortunately, could not get all the way to the main sellers area that we were hoping to see, or at least to try and get ourselves from. Because you can see there was a small reaction from the buyers, but you can see from 11 o'clock, we did end up getting this price coming to the downside. We did end up getting another pullback. You can see once the price broke this area to the downside, we got a pullback. There was a small selling opportunity there, but unfortunately, those sellers could not really take the market as far as we had hoped for. But if you do end up looking at the timings, so that was at exactly 4 o'clock. So if you jumped in on your sell and just closed your trade at 4 o'clock, you can see you would have actually made some very nice money and avoided this risk of where you can see the US big boys actually giving us more of a pullback. However, that's still what we want to see. We'll come back all the way till our main sellers area where we wanted to actually grab a very nice selling opportunity from. You can see the market is doing something similar with the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Remember, we did point out the yen pairs are very much correlated. So when we see one thing happening on one yen pair, chances are it could be happening on another. So in this situation, we wait to see what ends up happening. If we do end up seeing a pullback coming in on this one, chances are that's the exact same thing that's going to happen on the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. However, if we do see the price coming to the downside, reaching and holding below, we will possibly see that also on other yen pairs, and that could even give you more confluence and more clarity on your trade, actually being able to take that trading opportunity. So wait to see what ends up happening here. But for now, we do need to be a bit patient to wait to see whether or not the big boy sellers are actually going to come in during the London session, or it's actually going to come later on. Because remember here, we're dealing with the British pound against the Japanese yen. The British pound is mainly active during the London session. So hope that's clear. As we move on to the next yen pair we do have. Right here, we have the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Similar correlation we can see. There was a small pullback that did come in at around 11 o'clock, where the price was in a small seller's area. Could not necessarily get all the way to the top, where you can see the price attempted to come to the downside. So there was a small selling opportunity during the London session, but you can see during the US session. So at 4 or 5:30, that was the lowest the price has been. And you can see from then on, that's when the market actually started giving us more of a pullback. So today, for the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen, buyers here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. We have started getting a pullback. The pullback is still on. We have not yet seen any big boy sellers just yet. So we wait to see how these buyers end up reacting, or how at least they end up coming to the upside. We can end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal within this particular support and resistance pair. We should be able to find a very nice selling opportunity available for us on the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. So hope that's clear on the Swiss franc against the yen. As we move on to the next and last yen pair that we do have, which is the euro against the Japanese yen. Now, in this kind of pair, this trade actually worked out quite well. Because remember, yesterday we were looking for selling opportunities. And in this one, we did manage to actually get the pullback coming in within the support and resistance pair. You can see the price did reach the downside. When we're discussing this price early in the morning, the price was within this particular area. And you can see we did get a pullback coming in. Price was back within the support and resistance area during the London market open at around 11 o'clock. So 11 o'clock is right there. You can see we did end up getting a very nice selling opportunity coming in later on during the London session. But unfortunately, if you take note of when the US market opened, 4 o'clock, the price was all the way down within this particular area. So if you did manage to grab your selling opportunity during the London session and just close it during the US session, you can see you have actually made a good amount of money on this pair. So today, you can see the price has given us a pullback, similar correlation with all the yen pairs. So overall, buyers here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities, pretty much going to be still respecting the exact same pairs, because you can see the levels are still being respected. So in this situation, we wait to see what ends up happening. Either we'll get a pullback coming in to the upside, potentially showing us evidence that the big boy sellers are actually here, and we can end up grabbing a selling opportunity right there at the top. Or alternatively, if we do get the price coming to the downside, reaching this area to the downside and holding below, then we should be able to look for a selling opportunity. And remember, watch out for the market opening times. So hope that's clear on the euro against the Japanese yen. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, and the yen with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now, we're going to move on to the last currency pair, which is the New Zealand dollar pairs, before we end up having a look at the indices, as well as gold and silver. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar, brand new entered on our watch list. And in this currency pair, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see some big boy sellers did start pushing the price all the way down from the top right there, managing to come all the way down right here on the support and resistance area. We do have a level that was actually broken to the downside. As you can see, the price is holding within here. There was a probe, but this seems to be the first breach to the downside. Now, due to the fact that we're looking for selling opportunities, if you realize right now we're definitely within an area where the buyers, so we're not going to be looking for any selling opportunity just yet. One thing we possibly want to see is a pullback actually coming in. So if you can end up getting this pullback coming in within this support and resistance area, potentially giving us some sort of global price action signal, we should be able to look for a very nice selling opportunity right there. Alternatively, the price can end up breaching this area to the downside. If you find these buyers are not really active, or they're not interested in actually buying, we do get the price breaching and holding below this area, we should be able to also look for a selling opportunity available for us. But for right now, we do need to be patient. Remember, buy with buyers, sell with sellers. And most people need to remember the market structure. If we are looking for this market, we are going down, at least it's a downtrend. If it's a downtrend and we have lower lows and lower highs, obviously, the best place to look for yourself is within the lower highs. But right now, we're all the way down within this particular area where the price has just come down and we've found a support and resistance area. So you do not want to start jumping in on selling opportunities, because you could be stopped out as the market actually gives a pullback. And that's the reason why we will be waiting to see whether or not we can get the price actually coming back in within the support and resistance area for us to look for those selling opportunities. So hope the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar pair is clear. As we move on to the next New Zealand dollar pair we do have, this is the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. You can see the same correlation with the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar and this currency pair, where the market had managed to end up getting a support and resistance area. managing to break that area to the downside, and that just happened today morning. Since remember, we did point out we had some New Zealand dollar fundamentals that did bring in strength, and we can clearly see, but we do not want to start jumping on our selling opportunities all the way down here. Remember, let's wait to see if we can end up getting a pullback coming in within this support and resistance area. Hopefully, we can end up getting some sort of global price action signal, whatever entry criteria you do end up using to be able to end up grabbing a selling opportunity within this particular area. Remember, similar situation, if the price is able to actually continue to the downside, we break and we get the price holding below, then we should be able to look for a selling opportunity within that particular area as well. So, hope the game plan is clear on what we're looking at doing on the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Pretty nice trend to the downside, so all we need is a pullback to come in. Now, moving on to the next currency pair we do have here, we have the New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc, brand new entry on our watch list. So overall here, our bias is definitely to look for those buying opportunities, and we can see the same correlation coming in with all these New Zealand dollar pairs, where the prices didn't move to the upside. But one thing we need is a pullback to come in. So right now, we're within that area where the sellers, we do not want to start jumping in on those buying opportunities right there. We can end up getting the price coming back within the support and resistance area. This was definitely an area that was broken to the upside. We could potentially end up finding a nice buying opportunity there. But be aware, if we do not see any reaction within this first area, the price can still come back down all the way to the red support and resistance area, and our bias will still be to look for buying opportunities. So in this situation, let's see what ends up happening. The price breaks and falls above. Have a look at the other New Zealand dollar pairs, because you can see they all look pretty similar. So when one pair is actually starting to move, have a look at the other ones. You could end up finding some multiple opportunities on these currency pairs. So hope that's clear as we move on to the last New Zealand dollar pair we do have. Right here is the New Zealand dollar, the euro against the New Zealand dollar, sorry. So here, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see the exact same correlation that's coming in. The New Zealand dollar strength that really did come in quite aggressive. But right now, the fact that within a bias area, we do not want to start jumping in on selling opportunities just yet. So we need either pullback to come in. And this pullback can come in within either this first support and resistance area, or it could come all the way back up to the top resistance area. Ideally, we will still be looking for the same criteria. The buyers coming in, waiting for aggressive sellers to actually react, and that will give us a sign of which area we should be looking at. So in this situation, if the buyers don't end up reacting, there's still the possibility that this price could break this area to the downside, but it's still a similar situation. We need that pullback to come in to show us confirmation that this level has actually been broken for us to look for selling opportunities on the euro against the New Zealand dollar. So I hope that is clear on all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all these pairs on the buy side, from the US dollar all the way down to the New Zealand dollar, with the pairs on the sell side. So right now, we're going to have a look at the indices, then look at gold and silver. So for the indices, we'll start off with the NASDAQ, the NASDAQ 100. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. There were some small sells that did work out, unfortunately, not necessarily as well as we had wanted. You can see the price was within a buyer's area, and we wanted to jump in on selling opportunities. We were hoping to see a pullback coming in, but it seems the big boys did manage to actually continue coming through the downside. And you can see that was around 11 o'clock. Now, once the price did end up giving us a pullback, you can see waited for confirmation. Once the price came up higher, and it ended up approaching this particular area, so around 5:30 or so there, but we did end up getting some small selling opportunities, but unfortunately, they weren't really the best. As you can see later on during the US session, we did end up starting to get a pullback coming in. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we've adjusted the area slightly. And in this situation, we'll actually have more than 3 levels. So I'll just point out one other level that you definitely should take note of. It's not necessarily as major as these ones, but the fact that where the price is at, you can't even see this is exactly where we had the support and resistance area yesterday. It's still a support and resistance area today, just due to the fact that we have not necessarily seen any big boy sellers react. Chances are we could maybe see the price actually going to the upside slide. Now, for all those people who are thinking that it's a sell, as soon as the price does something like this, majority of people have now switched to a buyer, not necessarily realizing we're back within the main seller who actually pushed the price down lower. So I've seen this multiple times where the price ends up looking as if it's pushing to the upside, then is when you'll see the big boy sellers coming in, and that should give us an opportunity to look for selling opportunities. However, if we do see aggressive sellers reacting from this blue support and resistance area, we could also see some nice selling opportunities available for us on the NASDAQ 100. But be aware, this red support and resistance area is aligned in the sun for us, meaning the fact that we're purely technical on the indices as well as gold and silver, not like the currencies where if it passes the red support and resistance area, it falls off the watch list. In this situation, if it breaches and falls above this red support and resistance area, will not fall off our watch list. In fact, we'll actually start looking for buying opportunities. This is just something that will at least give us a clear direction of where we should be going. So right now we are in a seller zone, so we should still be looking for sells. The price is able to break and hold above this particular area. At that point in time, we will switch to a buyer zone and we should be comfortable to look for buying opportunities there. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the NASDAQ as we move on to the Dow Jones. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities, and today the bias is still the same. It seems that the Dow Jones seem to have been trading a much bigger time frame. So that's the reason why coming up to the 1 hour time frame, you can see the main seller who pushed this price down was right here at the top, who did manage to come all the way back down till the bottom. You can see since then, we've not actually been able to break this area to the downside. That was just a probe. And remember, we did mention that we need a pullback. So we did have this support and resistance area here where some sellers did react. You can see it's also a major SNR. But the fact that we broke below this particular support and resistance area, you can see this major support and resistance area that was broken. The fact that that happened, we were also expecting the price could potentially come back to that particular area. And that's exactly what we are seeing right now as the price is approaching that particular location. Now, reading the story on a smaller time frame, you can be able to start identifying how the buyers are actually coming in. We do notice the initial start of the move to the downside. The buyers really came in very aggressive, as you can see, those big two candles. But you can see the next time they were coming up wasn't necessarily as strong. Right? You can see all these candles coming up, and you can see they're also a mixture of red candles as well. Clearly, the buyers, when they started out, were much stronger than they are now. And now, if you look at now their next push to the upside, you can clearly see they are starting to get weaker and weaker. So overall, our buyers here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. Just because the buyers are getting weaker, that doesn't mean that you should just jump in on selling opportunities. We need to see a sign that the big boy sellers are actually going to be interested in this particular price. So if we are able to see some sort of aggressive sellers showing up within this particular area right here, so if you can see the sellers really coming to the downside, giving us maybe a small pullback or so, then we could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity available for us there. But be aware, at least here, due to the fact that we have multiple levels, that does also give us an opportunity. If the price breaks this area to the downside and we do get the price holding below, that should also give us another selling opportunity available for us on the Dow Jones. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening on this pair as we move on to silver. Now on silver, yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Remember, we did point out we are within a buyer zone. So overall, as long as we're holding above the red SNR, we will still be looking for buying opportunity. Now, yesterday, the price was within an area where the sellers during the London market open. You can see that price did actually start giving us a pullback. Wanted to see what kind of reaction we did end up getting within this area, but as you can see, the sellers were still coming in strong and there were no sign of big boy buyers, at least strong buyers. Just because we point out these levels, that doesn't mean that you should just jump straight in on buys or sells once the price gets towards those areas. You need to see some sort of reaction. And in this situation, there was no reaction, but the price managed to come all the way back down to the main buyers area. We still are starting to see the sellers now are starting to slow down, and that's a good sign for us. We're within still a buyer's market. So if we are able to see some sort of aggressive buyers coming in, so as you can see, the sellers are starting to slow down, as you can see, even based on how, as we looked at the other currency pair, you can see they started off quite strong, continued stronger, and the next time, look at how they're coming to the downside. And they're doing all that, and they've still not been able to make any new lows. So you can see that struggle, another struggle right there. So if we are able to see the buyers actually showing up, so we can end up seeing some sort of aggressive buyers coming in, showing that they are actually interested. On the pullback, we could end up grabbing a very nice buying opportunity available. We get the price breaching and holding above this area, then we should also be able to look for a buying opportunity, making sure to manage our trade within this top area. Now, remember, we did point out that here on gold, silver, and the indices were purely technical, meaning if the price actually is not able to break this area to the upside, and this buyer's area does not react, and we do get the price actually coming to the downside and actually holding below, then at that point in time, we can actually start looking for selling opportunities on silver. So right now, we're within a very interesting area. At least this is a good place to look for your buy, because if the stop loss is below here, if the price breaches and holds below, then at least, definitely you are wrong on this pair. But right now, this one seems quite interesting. Wait to see what kind of reaction comes in within this particular location. Now, moving on to the next and last pair that we do have, which is gold. Did something similar with silver, where overall, I think you can end up even just going up to a larger time frame. You can see the main buyers are still holding the market here. So even though we have gotten a pullback, you can see right here, this level was not broken. It just ended up probing to the downside and coming straight back up. So remember, as we did point out, based on the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar trade yesterday, once we do see the market giving some sort of probe where the market came down, could not actually hold below, chances are we could end up getting this price pulling back to that same support and resistance area before we do end up seeing the price taking off to the upside. So this one will be quite interesting to see what ends up happening. But overall, the game plan is still the same, still looking for buys, still focusing on the same locations, or at least the areas that we did have yesterday. But we want to see what kind of reaction ends up coming in within this particular area. Hopefully, we can end up getting this price giving us that pullback coming in. We do see the price actually holding above this area. And remember, watch out for the market opening times 11, 4, and 5:30. Could find a very nice buying opportunity available for us on gold. But remember, similar situation as I did point out, we need to see if the price actually ends up going to the downside. You can see yesterday it went to the downside, but it did not hold below. Want to see a strong breach to the downside, and if the price actually ends up holding below this area, that's when you should be able to look for selling opportunity. But you need to wait for that confirmation. Just because the price goes down below, that doesn't mean that that level has been broken, because easily you can see yesterday, price went to the downside, but it came straight back up. And if it does that, that's actually a sign for us to actually continue looking for buying opportunities. Remember, as we pointed out, if you see some sort of probe or price action signal, those end up giving you some nice entry criteria for your trades. So I guess that is it for me. As you can see, we'll mix and match all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side and had a look at the indices as well. So I guess that's it. Want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope these sessions are, or at least you have found value in these sessions. Really do appreciate you guys taking your time to join us. Remember, if you do like these videos, you want us keep on doing them, or at least even if you have some suggestions, just let us know. The chat box is open. We are really open to any suggestions, because ideally at the end of the day, we are doing this for you guys. So remember, please help us channel by dropping a like, making sure you subscribe, and also ring the bell notification, or at least click on the bell notification. So when we are live, at least you will be notified so you do not miss any webinar. So once again, I want to thank you guys so much. Really do appreciate it. Hope you have an amazing day. God bless. Happy trading, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.